Baseball lifestyle. It's my lifestyle.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Grounds Crew. As always, before we get started, make sure you like and subscribe. We appreciate your support. Today, we have a legitimate reason to talk about the Mets. Normally, at some point, we go off on a tangent talking about the Mets because we are homers. We love the team. And the Mets are a dumpster fire, unfortunately, and they are in the news today and for the last couple days for a very weird reason. So we brought on, in my opinion, the leading source in Mets news on Twitter, John Mincone. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you guys for having me. Yes, leading source.
Yes,
Mets
absolutely.
Twitter.
Former player for the Mets. And John, I feel like you could best explain it. What is the situation going on right now?
Well, Baez, Lindor, Pilar, I guess. All of them were given thumbs down to each other, and just, they had a little inside joke between them, teammates. It happens, and
then Javi effed up.
Yeah, Javi didn't explain it the best. I guess he kind of came out and said, "Well, the fans booed us, we're booing back," which is
soft.
Yes.
10-ply.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And not I don't think that's how he meant to say it or how it was meant to be in the beginning.
Yeah.
However, Mets fans, Mets Twitter, running away with everything.
Yeah.
Nobody's better on Twitter at inciting violence of words better than you, though.
Yeah, I love it. It's easy.
The Nationals fans truly hate you.
Yep.
And now some Mets fans also have a disdain for you as a person.
Yeah, me and my 18 ERA somewhere. It's
Only in AA.
Only double A.
Yeah.
You were great everywhere else.
No, it was in indie ball.
Was it indie ball that you were 18?
I was terrible in indie ball.
Oh,
That's
with the
right.
Ducks.
Yep.
With the Ducks. That doesn't count.
No, it doesn't.
Tell that story.
Yeah.
The Duck story? I was sitting on my couch for like 2 years, not touching baseballs, and they called me. They were like, "Hey, we had 4 guys get signed and 3 guys get hurt. Come pitch." I was like, "I can't. I haven't touched a baseball in forever." And the guy was like, "Yeah, we just need a body up there." So 18 ERA. That's how
Love
it shows
that.
up. Yeah.
Did your job.
Love that.
That's all that matters.
Hey, I was there.
Once a professional, always a professional.
That's right. Eating up innings. It's about the team, not about the ERA.
Absolutely.
But so Javi, everybody on the Mets caught crap for it. Not realizing that it had nothing to do with the fans. I don't think it really had anything to do with the fans.
I don't think it did either.
I think it was more they made something up within the team. It probably took them 2 seconds. They weren't sitting for nights texting about it and dwelling on it. They're like, hey, let's just boo each other back because it's funny. We need something. And, you've been with a lot of athletes. How many athletes use either you and do things despite you to not to do,
anything.
Things?
They again, because so you know it especially, and you also have some insight that's very specific to the Mets' current roster. Mm-hmm. So you have some insight there that's different than everyone else. But it's a 162 game season. We have to find different ways for us to spend 10 days getting out of a funk, doing something. Yeah. You spend a lot of time with the same few people, and then you start hearing the same things. You got to kind of break a cycle sometimes. Right. And this is, everybody loved the churve. They loved all this other stuff.
Yep.
The thumbs down, I think, was, and we were talking off the show, kind of this opportunity to just take the booing, turn it on to themselves, and say, we're going to use it as motivation to come out of a slump.
Right.
We know we suck. We're not going to smile about it anymore. Let's start to, remind ourselves that we need to do some shit.
Right. And, any athlete that I've ever met, any sport, they need motivation.
Yep.
It's not, a lot of the times they don't internalize and create it themselves. They need to do things despite someone, whether it's a rival on the team or on another team. A strength coach, a parent, whatever, somebody's on them about something, use it to get mad. And that's a healthy thing you're taught to do in sports.
Yeah.
So them doing this, really, they didn't go in the crowd and boo the fans. They booed to each other. That's just something that teammates do. You have to find some stuff.
Yeah. And I think for me, I was kind of waiting for them to do something to kind of just try and kickstart themselves because, it was kind of bothering me the last month. They've been playing like crap. And there was nobody throwing helmets. There's no one, really showing any, true emotion of, hey, this sucks. We need to fix it. And however this manifested into this moment, I know that there have been obviously conversations, but the fact that they're actually starting to play a little bit better, and this is one of the
I'm
ways
not
to
taking
try-
a 2-game win streak as them.
Sure, whatever. Fine.
I'm out on that.
100%.
Miss me.
Runs, 100%.
Miss me.
It's not. Sure, it's been a couple of days, but I wanted to see some passion. I wanted to see them fight back and actually show they're trying to make a run. They have this small opportunity to maybe stay in it, but I wanted to see something from them, and even if it's this.
Yeah, the whole rainbows and butterfly things that they were putting out, like, oh, smile, everybody, it's okay. Like, that was driving me nuts.
Yeah.
I'd rather see them be jerks about things and go out and win and do their job.
We don't need to be this nice all the time. Like, let's be a little mean. I know, like, the thing about the 86 Mets is coming out soon, and, like, those guys were, like, hardcore people, and they wanted to win more than anything else.
Yeah.
And it takes a
Is
little,
that true?
maybe?
They did not want to win more than anything else.
They wanted to do a lot of other things.
They wanted to do blow. And listen, the super. I'm pretty sure that the big story about Darryl Strawberry was while he was a Met, that he snagged a woman out of the stands, and then went in between innings
and did some stuff
and got to know her on a personal level.
Yeah,
gotta get your mind right
during the game.
Yep.
So, like, let's not. And this goes back to everybody always, like, the memory, the ghosts of our idols live on, and to be something that they're not, right? Like, people, the ghost of Michael Jordan is way better than the player he was. The ghost of the 86 Mets is now way better than it actually was.
Sure.
So, like, my thing is that we now are looking at this, and this is a problem. But, like, you go back to them, guys doing drugs, hey, those guys are great. Those guys are awesome.
Yep.
Like, come on, man.
100%. And I just wanted to see something that was beyond the rainbows and butterflies, like you were saying, because it was too vanilla of, like, hey, we're just gonna kind of everyone stay positive. It's fine. We're gonna make it through this. Like,
I think that's where Mets fans started to kind of go south with them, or at least start to get angrier, being like, hey, like, at least acknowledge them. Even though they were, like, in interviews, you can see, like, Lindor a couple weeks ago was like, yeah, I've been hitting like crap the whole year.
Right.
And Lindor ate it, but, like, I think the problem is that Lindor didn't come out of his slump till later.
Yeah.
Then once he did, he got hurt.
Yep.
So, like, the challenge becomes there's no, and again, I don't want to, this is just my opinion, there doesn't seem to be a leader on the team. And there's not the guy. You even go back in time to when the Mets were at their, like, peak Metsness, and you had David Wright, Jose Reyes, Carlos Delgado, you had Carlos Beltran, but the dude who kind of ran the team and was like the guy who rallied the troops was Paul LaDuca at catcher, right? He was rough and tumble, got after it, came up with the big hits, did the clutch things. So, like, they had somebody who was willing to be the vocal leader because Delgado and Beltran were, hey, let's do it. David Wright was let's just do it. Reyes was a lot of energy, was a lot of things, but people were like, hey, how do you rein that into control? LaDuca was the guy who let that run. Now there's no guy. DeGrom can be the guy at times. He's hurt.
Yeah.
There's no guy.
But DeGrom's not really like that vocal dude. Like,
DeGrom's
not
not a
you usually
vocal
find
dude.
that in your catcher is like a true leader, like the Yadi Molinas, the Paul LaDucas.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that's been talked about too is manager. Is it a manager issue?
I don't think it's a manager issue.
Okay.
I played for Louis. Listen, when you need to, don't think he's there not saying anything to the guys.
Oh, 100%.
He used to call meetings after some bad losses that we had and shred us. So we don't see all that on purpose. There's, things stay in the clubhouse for a reason, like that whole raccoon crap people still bring up. It's not meant to get out. It's never going to get out. It's in the clubhouse. Louis definitely sits these guys down, talks to them. Everybody respects him from the player standpoint.
Yeah.
Does he pull all the right strings? No, but who does?
My big thing is at this point, I don't worry about them not liking him. My thing is that at this point, whatever approach he's coming in day to day doesn't appear to be working. Top down from the start of the season. Like, you have every single player on the team is having like a career worst year all simultaneously. That's not coincidence, right? If you had told me that 315 batting average Jeff McNeil was having a slump year, okay, fine. But when you have Michael Conforto having a slump year, you have McNeil have a slump year, you have Dom Smith having a slump year, you have this across the board. My thing is, we fired the hitting coach already early in the year. Nothing got better. This isn't just, and that's my thing. I agree.
That was a mistake.
But, like, you've then put it that the approach isn't working. And that's what you got in the tweet with Cohen. He says, hey, this approach sucks. Look at the OPS. They got like a 660 OPS. They're the 28th best offense out of 30 teams. Like,
but Louis not necessarily the guy that's implementing the hitting approach. Like, he's there to oversee it and make sure that, but he's not the guy implementing it on a day-to-day basis. He's working with the hitters. He throws BP. He's there for it. But same like he's not with the pitchers. He picks and chooses who goes in, or maybe a higher up does. But their hitting coach right now is just not – something is not clicking with all of them. Again, they may like him as a person. Same with Louis. Maybe I'm wrong, and it could be his fault. But they may like Hugh as a person, but whatever approach they have right now is just – it's tough watching them swing at first pitches out of the zone and then take strike 3 down the middle.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I feel like we've been saying this for a little bit now. Like, the approach is the issue, and at this point in the season, it's not really something that's going to get adjusted. It's something for next year, and it's something that I talked about for, like, if we want to keep Javi around, something's got to change in the way he goes about his at-bats. Otherwise, he's going to be a serious liability, and if we're going to put some sizable money into him, I don't want that.
Yeah.
You also have a situation where Jeff McNeil's become a part-time player now.
Yep.
You have Dom Smith has become a part-time player now.
Two guys who used to have phenomenal at-bats at all times, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Dom, it was really last year. The years leading up to last year, he was fine, but last year was a big year.
Well, last year he became a monster.
Right.
Yeah.
But the years leading up to it, where it's not like he was out there putting up crazy numbers, was he?
So Dom, to me, was in the same category as a guy like Conforto, where the batting average is not necessarily something to write home about, but it's the sum of the parts. And I'm pretty sure that even though Dom was not like a 300 batting average guy,
in 2019 you batted 280.
Okay,
but that's my point,
solid.
right? Like, you go back and we say we have an 881 OPS in 177 at bats in 2019, and a 993 OPS in 177 at-bats in 2020. Now, you can go back to the last time he spent significant time in the show was 2018, where he spent the majority of the season with Las Vegas. He spent 56 games with the Mets. He was a 675 OPS. But the 675 OPS was majority carried by the fact that he just didn't hit for a lot of power.
Yeah.
And that's not been the MO otherwise. And I think that's kind of the challenge has been he looked like, age 24, which was his first year really up. That's when he was the 800 plus OPS. So his career OPS 785. He right now is sitting 664. So whatever you want to say across every level, everything else, he is not the guy right now that he has been historically. Yeah. Even if he was a 785 OPS guy, I'd say that the Mets are fine. Yeah. Is he an answer? No. But if you're looking at it and you're like, hey, we got a minimum salary guy in left field who plays average defense, I can spend money somewhere else right now. Yeah. That's not my glaring hole. My glaring hole was I had Andres Jimenez playing shortstop. Now I got Lindor. Right? That's a hole. Mm-hmm. The challenge for me is, and again, so one of the reasons why you were here today, you have inside info and guys on the team. You've spent a lot of time playing, like you said, you played for Louis, and there's guys who are up in the show who are all around your age. Yep. So you played with Dom.
Played with Dom, played with a lot of them, Conforto and Nimmo and a lot of the guys there.
In the conversations that you've had thus far, right, about the whole thing that just happened now in the general sense, what's what you hear as marching orders inside there?
From what had just happened, this whole thumbs down scenario, same thing that I took it as, coming from somebody that's been in clubhouses and know how they work, and sometimes it's a long season, you got to figure out what to do with it. I talked to some guys that are there now, and they were actually shocked that it came out and fans were blowing it up like it got blown up. They were like, it was my initial reaction, I saw it, I was like, that's funny. Even before I really knew what was going on, I was like, they're booing each other, they're booing somebody. It's funny. They need something, whatever. It's a joke. They were laughing about it after the game.
I think it's that Javi looked so serious
in the interview.
When he gave the interview.
Yeah.
He's got his kid on his lap, and he's just like, the fans have to be better.
Right.
And he took it from a lighthearted thing into
And May spent an entire off day defending exactly what he spent his whole day on Twitter talking to fans to really let them know, the same message that I got from the people that I talked to. It was something that started as a joke, and it didn't start yesterday or 2 days ago. It started weeks ago. They thought it was funny. It was just a fun way to get back into it, trying to get themselves back in a groove, which they need desperately. Even when they were in first place, they were never in, I feel like they never clicked and were never grooving. And now is a time where they're out of it, but they're not far enough out of it where a run wouldn't hurt.
Yeah.
So to them, it was it was an inside, it was an inside joke to them. And they really didn't understand why the Mets fans were doing that. But I guess when I talked to them more, it kind of boiled down to a lot of them don't understand that you need that. You need something sometimes. You have teammates you see every single day, and spring training is another month and a half on top of that. So the season's long enough. Sometimes you just need things to spark you up. And they weren't jumping. And as they said, they weren't jumping in the stands, flipping people off. They weren't, cursing people out. They were giving a thumbs down to themselves and laughing about it.
Yep.
So it had nothing to do with the actual fans. It was a reaction to the fans, but it wasn't at the fans.
And I think that's where Javi got off on a tangent and kind of went in a direction where he threw everybody under the bus. And then you have that moment where nobody wants to be like, that was dumb.
Right.
Like, that's not what this is. I think everybody tried to be like, hey, how do we mitigate this? Yeah. What I hate now is that, just before we're coming on the show, everybody's tweeting apologies and everything else. Like, don't do that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, just go out today, win the game. Then in the post game, be like, we're focused. We're back on this. We're moving on.
That must have been Sandy's big meeting that he tweeted out before talking to anybody on the team.
I love when old people don't know technology sometimes. This isn't the first time Sandy's done that, because Sandy has like a newsletter that he has or something, or a blog he writes for, and he like airs it out. Sometimes he like says some stuff, and I don't think he expects it to get out. Or is this just a moment where Sandy wants to slip out some stuff, but he wants to be able to feign ignorance because I'm the old guy. I don't really know how this works.
Maybe, but he should have talked to the players before. But that thing came out.
Oh, my Lanta, yeah. I like that's the thing that like fans are like, we need Stephen Cohen to come out and say something. We were talking like, you think this guy wants to go and spend $2 to $3 billion on a new team? And like them to suck, that's what this guy wants. You like Mets fans have already forgotten, and it's how spoiled they are, and how spoiled people are in general now. That the guy went out and made the trade, signed off on it, gave $341 million contract to somebody. Then at the trade deadline, said okay to getting in more talent and doing what could possibly be there to make the team better. And fans are like, hasn't done enough. This is the Wilpons all over again. And it's like, even the Wilpons, I've said it before. The Wilpons came out and tried to sign guys. They gave Cespedes money. Yeah. But they just sucked in the margins.
Right, and it didn't work. Sometimes it didn't, like Jason Bates. It just doesn't work out sometimes. Yep. You can't. The Wilpons didn't get bad stuff. They signed a good player at the time.
David Wright gets the extension, and his body falls apart.
What do you mean?
Unprecedented.
Right, you just can't. It's terrible. It sucks, but nothing you can do about it.
And that's not them. And I that's the sadness I have is that Mets fans are going to ruin it for themselves in the short term.
Yeah.
That like things are already so much better and there's so much hope. You got spoiled by we were winning the division, all these other things. Yeah. And there's still a lot of season left.
And that's another, like, going back to this whole scenario, no matter what he said, even if he came out, Mets fans find a way to be miserable. Half the fans would have been miserable if he said a different thing. Half the fans are miserable. There's no winning with them. There's no winning. Like, you can't. Yeah. And the people that really think that, like, you tell them what it is, and they're like, yeah, but. And they just never, like,
and you got the perfect person reached out to you on Twitter because he felt like you and him really needed to talk to each other in regards to this entire situation. So can you give us some insight into a current multi-billionaire owner of a professional sports team who was giving you some insight?
I can. But, I mean, basically, he reached out. He sent a tweet out. I think he retweeted Donovan Mitchell or something. And I just tweeted on it. I was like, man, you have to see the fans' reactions to it.
And who was it?
It was Mark Cuban. It was,
Mark Cuban saw everything that was going on.
Right. Well,
and he was like, you know who I need to reach out to?
Yeah, this guy.
John here.
Yeah.
I see
the
that
leading source
mark.
on Mets Twitter. There
leading
you go.
source on Mets Twitter for news right here.
Yeah.
They're playing today. This news. So he, his first reaction, I think he tweeted back and was like, the Mets need, baseball needs some kind of like Reggie Miller, Spike Lee kind of rivalry. Those were opposing team, fan, whatever. But still, it's that kind of fire is good for a team. It's good for the players. It's good for the fans. Like it makes things fun. Like those games were fun back then.
Exactly.
Then he actually reached out asking what the fans' reactions were, and I just messaged him back, and basically the gist was, you're getting that everywhere. Whatever fan base you're thinking about talking to, like, everybody's going to bitch about it. Everybody's going to find a way to be mad over things they don't need to be mad at. They're going to be happy for a second, and then something goes wrong. Mets fans were bitching when they were in first place. So what's the difference now?
But it's the 1%. It's the loud
Right.
minority,
Right.
Instead of like the vocal minority,
Correct. The team-
and not the silent majority.
Right. If you guys don't want if you're mad at the thumbs down and you don't want to go to tonight's game, people will go to tonight's game.
Yeah.
It's gonna be people are gonna show up. They're not gonna not go to Mets games because somebody put a thumbs down and it hurt a few people on Twitter.
Win.
Yeah.
Just win, baby.
Right. You win. If they were in first place by 15 games, nobody would have even asked the question at the press conference. Nobody would have cared. But they're down, and it's just something else to get angry about.
Yep.
They love it.
And unfortunately, the New York media is ruthless, and they blew it up and with some really horrible takes that just made it way bigger than it needed to be. And
it's the challenge of, I don't know the other cities for baseball, but I know it happens in basketball that people in LA just still don't give a damn about the Clippers. It's all about the Lakers, right? Here is the same kind of news cycle and the same kind of thing. It's all about the Yankees, and it's not about the Mets. So when the Mets were doing well and everything else, every Yankees fan was trying to be like, their record's the same as ours. Stop talking about them. Talk about us, too. It's like, yeah, but you're getting trounced in your division.
Right.
The downside of this all coming out is that it coincides with the fact that the Yankees went on like a 12-game winning streak and were smashing it and kept crushing it and went from being at the bottom of the division they might win the division.
Right.
And it's like, that's how fast baseball can change.
Yeah. Mets did it in, 15? When they went on that run right after the deadline. It's. I'm not saying it's easy to do, but it's feasible to do. It's not like the most ridiculous thing. But yeah, the media's been just like even last night with I think it was Joel Sherman or whoever it was said like the Mets don't have a bias problem, they have a Lindor problem. Like, what are you writing? Like,
you gotta be careful. I found out that I'm blocked by some news writers.
I'm blocked by Andy Martino. I'm blocked by all those guys.
I'm pretty sure Andy Martino blocked me.
Mr. Softy? Yeah.
Somebody else blocked me, and I literally went back. I've never tweeted or done anything in their direction.
Nope.
I know what I did.
Yeah, you just
I
go
talked to
around
you on
about
Twitter.
it. Yeah.
Oh, he's friends with John?
Yo,
John.
Somebody saw me talking to John, and he was just like, block that guy.
Yeah, this guy's
Not
gonna be
today.
a problem.
Not because I clicked on a news article,
Yeah.
and it took me to one of his tweets, and it was like, "You're currently banned," and I'm like, "What did I even do?" And a whole bunch of people were like, "Yeah, well, welcome to Mets Twitter." So that's the problem. Is
Softies all around.
When the writers are soft, of course, guys, you can't if you block people on Twitter who talk about your work as a writer, you're not allowed to talk about the Mets doing a thumbs down. Because you're softer than Temple.
Right. I mean, I guess last night the whatever article came out about that Lindor problem thing distracted Mets fans enough to get off the thumbs down for a second and be like, "Wow, you're trash." That was a trash take. That was a garbage take.
Trash take.
Yeah.
He's been nothing but great. The challenge for him is he wasn't hitting well, but he was solving that before everything. Played elite defense, was keeping guys invested and engaged. Yeah. I'm happy with Lindor long term. I think that we're going to figure that out. But
listen, how many people come into New York and light it up right away? Not many. Not many big signings that either New York team had come in and have a smooth transition into what they were doing.
Yeah,
before.
it's been the last 2 weeks that Yankees fans finally started to like Giancarlo Stanton.
Right, but it takes
and
sometimes
even
it takes,
Gallo and Rizzo, they came in, hit a couple home runs, and then went quiet.
Right, sometimes
the entire
it takes
run.
a season, even a season. Sometimes it takes that to adjust to New York and adjust to
the news
dealing
cycle.
with all that stuff. Yeah.
You walk into a room and you're expecting to have a couple of guys with a microphone,
right.
and you walk in and it's packed and people are emptying out the doors because they can't fit inside the room to ask you a question, and you're like, oh wow, I'm not in the MLB. I'm in the MLB in New York.
Yeah, it's
gotcha.
Different.
Yeah.
Wildly different.
Yeah.
Wildly different.
And then you see the fans from all their the Indians and the Cubs last night. They're like, if you guys don't want them, we'll take them back.
Yeah.
You gotta get it. These guys they have emotions too. They're people. They're not machines. They're not robots. They're gonna joke around. They're gonna do things. They're gonna say things that piss people off. They're gonna say things that people love. But at the end of the day, real fans know what you have, and they want them back.
Exactly.
Of course, they want them back. I'm happy to have them.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a hot. Speaking of hot takes that other people will get mad about, my least favorite player in the MLB is officially Mike Trout.
Oh, because they're looking to shut him down for the season?
For his calf injury was supposed to be 4 to 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And he
way more than that now.
Before this season started, we talked about if you've got him and Ohtani and Rendon and Walsh, this team's gonna bang. they're a pitcher away from everything. And Shohei Ohtani has put everyone on his back. And he's walked across the desert without drinking water and just been absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
And he hit another home run last night, and he's sitting on 42. And he's been the best pitcher in baseball since the All-Star break. And Trout had this opportunity that you finally have a wingman. You guys have a true ace pitcher on your team who also happens to be a better home run hitter than you. And you show me now. Get them to the playoffs. Earn it. And they're going to miss the playoffs, and it's because he didn't play. And I'm just
so angry,
baffled by his career.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm so angry because, again, because what we've talked about this. Shohei Ohtani is going to sign for how much money do you think next year?
Infinity? I don't know.
So we've put
should be infinity, right?
We've got the under over. We've got the under over on the show, and now ESPN agrees with us. We have the under over on the show at $50 million, and the take on $50 million is that he is going to be a guy who starts 20 to 24 games for you.
Yeah.
With a sub-3 ERA.
Correct.
How much would you pay for a pitcher who's a little injury prone?
You're talking about per year, 50?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
How much would you pay for a starting pitcher who makes 24 starts with a sub-2 ERA?
Yeah.
Then,
close to
how
30.
much would you pay for a guy who has 1,000 OPS?
Yeah.
Put them together and you have Ohtani.
I think 50 might be the way the contracts are going, 50 might be a deal for them.
And that's why we're saying the under-over of do you think on what side you would, but that would make him the highest paid player in the game.
Yeah.
So the thing is that they're 1 year away, so his contract only has 1 year left. You still have to pay Trout.
Mm-hmm.
You're still going to have to pay Rendon.
Yep.
Just those two players, right, are already making 70, 80 million. If you give him 50, you're 130 million in for 3 players. They can't do it and field the team.
No.
So who are they trading?
Let Uncle Stevie take care of it.
Listen, I've proposed that trade.
You didn't see that post, did you?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Phil.
I gotta actually pull up the full post.
Because he could field the team.
Well,
he sure could. He sure could.
Well, so that becomes they've proven that they don't want to spend very much more money than what they're already going in on. And for me, the question is, I would trade Trout.
Yeah.
Because
he's been in trade talks also in the past. Not serious ones, not serious ones, but enough that it's not. It wouldn't blow my mind if they traded him.
Well, so the trade offer, and I can't even go back. How far was that?
Here, I got it.
And I'm sure Trout would
He's got the deal.
All right, ready? So for the Mets to get Mike Trout, Bill proposes a trade: Dom Smith, Tyler McGill, Francisco Alvarez, Ronnie Mauricio, Brett Beatty, and cash.
You better get some other big leaguers in then. It's a lot of prospects.
So again, this was before Dom Smith fell off the map entirely as a hitter.
This was August 9th, so just at the cusp of their demise.
How many different positions are you giving up there?
So that's prospects. A starting pitcher.
Right.
So what's McGill's actual year been as a starter?
Well, I just mean literally what positions are all these guys?
Oh, so Francisco Alvarez is the top catching prospect in baseball, top pitcher, 10. Mauricio's a shortstop.
Yeah.
And
which shortstop we're covering, I get it.
And Beatty's a third baseman.
Okay.
And Beatty and
third baseman / outfield.
And all 3 of those guys currently on a few different things are top 30 prospects.
Right.
So you have 3 top 30 prospects. Alvarez is considered a top 5 prospect. You have Dom Smith, who's 26-year-old left fielder, and you have Tyler McGill, who is.
But they're all top 100 in baseball.
I'm all in for trading for Trout, but giving up 4 different positions worth of top prospects that could help the team soon. Shortstop, fine. We have Lindor, we're locked up.
Mm-hmm.
But we need a third baseman. Outfielders we could always use. We don't have nobody in our outfield's a stud outfielder.
I would like the Mets to try and get Castellanos in the offseason.
You tweeted that the other day.
Yeah.
And I love that idea.
Dude's nasty.
Yeah.
I would love that.
Love him as a player, as a person off the field. I think he would fit in wonderfully, but
yeah,
we'll see that our off-season podcast, I'm sure, will be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so you think that's a little too much in the package? Obviously, Trout's going to command a lot anyway.
If they were 2 outfielders and a shortstop or whatever, I'd be more okay with that. But our catching,
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's
our third base. We need, unless you're going to sign.
Well,
big
we
league
talked
guys
about Alvarez and McCann.
Sense.
Alvarez would come up when McCann's contract is done, which is only 3 years
not if you
away.
trade him.
Now, if you trade him, well, you could also do that. Yeah.
Right.
But then you have
Well,
to
I
sign
think-
big leaguers to take over.
So I think that ultimately, if Alvarez was further along with the bet,
Yeah.
I could see a world now with the Mets catching situation in the minors that they trade McCann either this offseason,
Right.
but I would say that there's no way that he makes it past next
Next year,
offseason.
no.
Because next offseason, what you would do is you have Nito
Mhm.
and you have Alvarez, and you split the time between the two because the kid mashes
Yep.
and he's a stud hitter. But my thought process with the Mets trade of those things is it's two guys who are around average prospects. McGill at the time was like a 2 ERA,
Yeah.
and he's 26. And they need starting pitching in general.
Yep.
Dom Smith is, again, an 800 OPS guy. So you look at it and you say, okay, the major league talent today decreases our value. But it takes $40 million off our cap. But then the question is, when you look at some of the trades that just went out for other players, how many top prospects had to actually go? So the trade just for, why am I blanking on his name? Went to Toronto, pitcher.
Jose Barrios.
Barrios required 2 top 30 prospects just for him. So this is, again, Mike Trout.
A pitcher and a shortstop.
I'm trying to say that they could get a situation where we'll give you enough in your outfield or first base, because Dom Smith could move to first base.
I'm not prospect. It's fine giving away top. I'm not opposed to giving away top prospects, but it's just spread out over so many positions that could help the Mets right now. That's it. But if they're going to go out and get people in the big league, trade for other big leaguers that could help them immediately, then I guess it doesn't really matter. They're going to be blocked.
See, the
anyway.
Mets are getting to the point that they're too deep in their upper echelon of their minors. Their minor system is starting to get a logjam at a few different positions. Namely, the number one logjam that they have is in the third base position.
Yes.
Vientos is leading the organization in home runs. He's got like 22 or 23, and he's actually a month younger than Beatty. And Beatty is now up to Double-A also, and went 3 for 4 last night or something like that. And he's got a 850 OPS in Double-A. So you have two 21-year-olds who are hitting really, really well, and they play the same position. They're both now also playing left field. And
flipping back and forth between the two of them.
they're flipping back and forth, and they're sharing time because they're both not ready to move up the level. I think that AAA is then where you also have some guys who are in trouble, because you have Blankenhorn, and you have, again, my man's batting 400 for the Mets. Drury. And you have Drury, who's occasionally there at third base. So they've been jammed at third. Because you now have, real talk, like Jeff McNeil was a third baseman at one point in time. You have J.D. Davis. You have Drury. You have Blankenhorn. You have Vientos. You have Beatty. And then Mauricio is a 6'3" guy who might not stay at shortstop. And shortstop is not what we need over the next 5 years.
Right, we're fine at shortstop.
So he might be a third baseman if he does crack through.
Yeah.
So the Mets are over logjammed at that position, and that was kind of my point. Was they don't need a shortstop, so Mauricio's fine.
Yeah.
They have another guy who's the same age as Beatty at third base, so Beatty's fine.
Yep.
Really, it's that Alvarez is the crown jewel of the trade.
Right. I mean, as long as they have the guys coming up that can handle it and back them up, which they do.
Yeah.
So it's time to be a Rumble Ponies fan. My goodness.
Yeah. Well, so we were trying to get out. We talked multiple times. We wanted to try to get out to see a Brooklyn game, and we had talked about it, obviously.
Whenever you guys want.
And
while
we were there, Beatty was gone.
Yeah.
And you're now seeing also at the end of the year, the young guys who haven't played a lot of baseball are exhausted.
Yeah.
You know, Alvarez is a catcher who's 19 years
just
old,
worn out right
and
now.
he's 235,
Yep.
and he's just like,
Yeah.
I need a vacation.
Yep.
I need to chill. I need to not do this. So like Shohei Ohtani, getting back into the Angels thing, I hate, and hate's a strong word because I don't actually hate the man. He's a fine human.
Yep. Upstanding.
I hate Trout as a star right now because he's letting his team down again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And at some point in time,
Do you think the injury's that bad? Because like I've seen him running and stuff. Like,
no, I can't justify it. I can't. The only thing I can think is that he doesn't feel right, so he's just not going to play.
Yeah. I mean, if he doesn't feel right, he's not going to risk something that could potentially. Do you know
For a
where
lost
is his
season.
injury? I
Calf,
know it's calf,
calf.
but like, is it?
So that
Is
becomes,
it up here by his knee
that
where like
becomes the question.
he's putting his ACL and meniscus
is
in danger?
his
Is that what you're
ACL an
saying?
issue?
Right.
Is his Achilles already busted?
Right.
Well, if that's the case,
Right. If it's up or down and not
it
square in the
further
middle.
buoys the point that he's not going to be the same player he's been. But also, We're now relying on him. He should be, maybe he should DH more than he has in the past. But now you can't do that if you have Ohtani, right? So, like, there's a lot of things that team is misorganized, and you have the best player in the game, but you keep missing the playoffs.
Yeah.
Instead, they need a better team, not the best player. They're too top-heavy.
Yeah.
None of the meat and potatoes in the middle is good enough.
Trout can DH with the Mets in a couple years.
And the Mets
Yes,
have
sir.
way too much in the middle and not enough top end.
Correct. Agreed.
And they need to go and they need to chase top end. So that's
Yeah.
why I'm willing to give it all up, because DeGrom's not getting younger.
Right.
Syndergaard already has an injury, right?
Yep.
Your bullpen is going to start to age out of their contracts and things like that at some point in time soon.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like a super strength. And then
Shout out
You-
to Aaron Loop.
you
My
have
goodness.
you have a couple pieces that are good. You know,
Nasty.
Pete Alonso
Stand
has proven, hey, I can be the third baseman.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, last year was a slump. I sucked a little bit. I have power and I'm dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Is he a 300 batting average guy? Nah. But is he going to be a guy who hits 30 home runs every year? Yeah.
Should be.
And that's what they need.
Yeah.
And if he can move to DH, he probably could do even better. So, who is...
But then we have a logjam at DH.
I was definitely happy how he's kind of picked it up in the second half.
Yes.
Definitely locked in more. His average is going back up. Home runs
I
are
think
going
the home
up.
run derby really jolted him.
That's
again.
what he. I guess he just needs
He
to
should
do
it
a
every-
big
he needs to do
BP
it every
sesh.
year.
Yeah.
That was the most joyous person during a home run derby in the history of the world.
Yep.
Because it's
And, like,
easy.
Dancing.
Him
Dancing and just
dancing,
marking balls.
but also freestyle, like rapping to the song and hearing it, like,
He's gonna have like a musical number
and
next year.
demolishing baseballs.
and then just absolutely torching everybody in the field. Like, guys, if I know where the ball is, you have no absolute chance.
Yeah.
I will hit it 550 almost every time.
Yep.
Yep.
Man, what do you think of the baseball season in general?
In general, for every team
What-
ever.
Just
In its
overall-
entirety.
Overall, whole.
I mean, it's been super interesting. The amount of teams that were up big, lost leads, teams that were down that are now in first place. There's still tight races out there. I thought the Padres were going to be much more of a, problem than they are.
the Padres or the Mets.
Yeah,
There's a lot of guys who are out
And they
there
went
and they just
hard.
don't. They're not performing
they went hard then. They went hard at the trade
Yep.
deadline. Like they're just
because
not-
everybody did.
Yeah.
Chris Bryant ends up being again the right decision for a team.
Yep.
I'm just shocked. I'm really shocked at the Padres. That's my biggest takeaway from the season. The Padres aren't as much of a factor as I thought they would.
But
be.
and it's not like they're bad. It's just the rest
No.
of the division is so damn
So
good.
Yeah.
And they also
Well, the
haven't been playing
Giants
amazing.
also being
You have
the Giants are
280.
good.
You have 280 win teams in that division already, right?
See, but then everybody's like, I don't get it. I don't get how the Giants can do this. They're a team of those guys are major league baseball players.
Yep.
They're not prospects that are like going out like Tatis going
Hoping,
out,
projecting.
Merck. And Tatis is awesome. I love watching him. But like those guys are big league guys that just know how to get it done day in and day. They show up at the park, they get their work done.
Yep.
They win.
They're seasoned
If they
vets.
lose, they move on.
Yep.
They don't deal with. There's no BS going on with them. They're not in the news for anything bad.
Yep.
They
They're
just show
only
up.
in the news because everyone's
Yeah.
just confused on how
Right,
good they are.
because they're big leaguers,
Yep.
and even guys that, Longoria's been kind of down for a bit. Now he's back up. These guys are having borderline.
Everyone's
career
having a
years.
career year at the exact same time.
and because they are the definition of like a major league baseball player. They show up and do the right things, and they
yes,
get their
they
results.
were incredible. Like, it was interesting having the Mets play them and the Dodgers back to back because it was two types of great teams. Like
Completely
the Dodgers
different.
have the star power, but the
Yeah.
Giants are just seasoned vets that know how to play baseball and win.
The Giants are like the team that you don't want to run into in a tournament because you know that like they're just gonna play you really freaking well every single
Yep.
time.
Yep.
And like the Dodgers, you might get an off day, and you might beat up on Price or somebody that's having an off day and
Yep.
beat them.
I don't know. They've got the Infinity Stones, man.
Yeah, they're good. I mean, but
Like-
the Giants are just gonna be a tough test every time. It's
Doctor
gonna be a tough series.
Do
for
they?
whoever
Do
gets
they
there.
have?
Doctor
do they
Strange is holding up his finger.
Have, yeah.
He's like, in how many scenarios did we win?
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
the reality is we're hoping the anomaly happens. Reality is the Dodgers are 83 and 49.
Yeah.
And no team got better at the trade deadline than they did.
Very
Like Trey Turner was batting like 330 monster. He just went over and continued to do that.
Yeah.
Like they're super deep. They've got Scherzer's going to be nasty in the postseason.
Yeah.
I love the story of the Giants. And you're right. This is what happens when you have a bunch of real MLB guys.
Yeah.
Like their floors are high,
Yep.
but their ceilings are getting lower every day.
Right.
And I think that Chris Bryant gives them the ability to continue that trend.
Yep.
Every position has a professional at bat. We're going to be this every day. We're going to have all these different things. I just don't know how anybody beats the Dodgers.
No, I mean, I agree with that. They're overall, you might get a game out of them in, a postseason series. Like, you might get to David Price, you might get to whoever and just have a good day and beat them. I just think the Giants seem like they're just going to wear somebody out.
Yes.
Like, they seem like a team that's just going to, like, bat. Like, the Dodgers will probably win in, 4 or 5. The Giants will win in 6 or 7, but, like, they're just going to wear on your team for the next round.
Did the Padres even make it?
I'm losing faith in that concept.
Yeah,
I have a lot of faith in the Reds.
Yeah,
They have been
the Reds
playing like what they were supposed to be.
And that's kind of my thing is that we talked about the Padres at the end of the year. They're going to play a little bit in the division.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to kind of beat up on each other. Where are things going to go? Who needs a lead? And then you look at the NL East. You're going to have a team that's worse than the Padres win the division. So you have a team that's going to make it in.
Yeah.
That's taking one spot.
They're going to need to go on a pretty solid run at the end. They're really going to need to play some like really good baseball for the last few weeks of the year.
Yeah, that's a really crazy world where the Padres might not make it, and they still have a really, really good team.
Yep.
And I think that those are the things that are really like throwing me for a loop. The other thing that's been the most insanity has just been the turnaround by the Yankees. We've talked on this show that hitting in the second half usually outpaces pitching. So if you have a team that's built on hitting, you're going to win in the second half because the arms are going to get tired and bats are going to heat up. And magically, a team that's built to hit starts to hit.
Yep.
And we've seen it. Now, I don't think anybody projects that they're going to win every single game the rest of the year. But
that lineup's ridiculous when they're hitting.
And you always got to scale it to where they play, right? Yeah. We did a thing where we looked at like the games that they played in Citi Field versus the games that both teams played inside Yankee Stadium. It's about 50% less runs scored.
But they got the guys that help them at home.
Yeah.
They went out and got Rizzo and Gallo.
And that's the big thing that we talked about.
Who can flip balls 40 yards back there.
It. They realigned, and it's just made their lineup more dangerous because you can't game plan for how you're going to pitch around something.
Because those guys miss balls and they get off the end of the bat and it's going 10 rows deep.
And what's also happened too is their other big guys have now got hot. Judge, Stanton's locked in. All the Yankee fans we were talking about before the show are all Stanton's the best again. And
it's amazing how many Yankee fans hated him the last couple of years, and now he's like the best thing in the world.
They'll hate him again because they get into the postseason and he'll struggle.
Yeah, he'll strike out with the bases loaded twice,
and they'll get bounced in the division, or they'll get bounced in the ALCS.
Yeah,
and everybody like underperforming team, and it's like you guys are throwing out like a dude who was sitting on his couch who you called up for the first time to pitch.
Yeah.
Like your pitching staff just isn't what it needs to be to win a World Series. How do you keep expecting to be there when you don't have you're missing infinity stones?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you just can't
you're
snap your
missing the
fingers
big
and get
piece
it.
that you need.
Yeah, and that's I think been the craziest thing for me is how much the Dodgers have out Yankeed the Yankees from the '90s.
Yeah.
Like, they haven't won as much yet. It's coming. Like I don't know. Again, they're going to win this year, right?
It's hard to see them not. I don't know who's going to beat them unless somebody gets, like I said, if somebody gets lucky. But like I can't see.
They got dudes on their bench better than most team starters. Like they've got guys playing out of position who are all stars. Like, what is going on here? How do you even afford this?
Don't they shove Trey Turner in the outfield sometimes?
He's second base. He's playing out.
Player.
He's just like, where do you want me to be?
That ad was.
And they also
that might have been the biggest trade.
That's the biggest thing because I think Trey Turner's super underrated.
He shouldn't be. He's ridiculous.
He's ridiculous. And also,
but he's underrated for how highly people think of him.
Yep. Yeah,
he's still underrated.
And now Corey Seager has zero leverage for his contract.
Yeah.
He's gone.
He's
gone.
That doesn't help him at all.
Who would you rather have? Yeah, but you know what? So many teams need it.
Yeah, he'll be fine. But I don't think any of the shortstops on the trade market are going to get Lindor money though.
No.
And I know they're going to go out there and want it, but no shot.
Ooh, I don't know. They're gonna try.
They're going to try, absolutely. We already saw Correa kick a $150 million contract like it was nothing. He's going to get like 200 something.
Yeah, he's not going to get up.
Yeah.
What's Javi getting? Is Javi a shortstop?
I don't know.
Not if he stays.
If he stays, he's playing second.
Yeah.
Right?
Which he said he would.
Yep.
But for a second baseman, with his skill set, his numbers, his stuff, what's Javi getting this offseason?
Well, you have to take in the superstar factor, which helps a lot of people. Like, if you had a vanilla kind of player have the stats that Lindor had.
You mean Brandon Nimmo versus Bryce Harper? Got you.
Well, Nimmo's not going to get the money that Harper's going to get because he doesn't have that superstar factor.
But
Baez does, though. So even if he strikes out,
I want to keep Nimmo forever.
Yeah,
I love him.
But even if he doesn't have the best stats, he strikes out a lot. He keeps teams in games. His defense is ridiculous. He's gonna get money. I don't know how much. 200.
So
He hasn't had an 800 plus OPS season since 2019.
How
So I
many
guess
All-Star games?
he played for multiple teams. So that's why the things are
Yeah.
getting me. He's only had over 800 OPS twice.
How many All-Star games?
2.
2. Okay.
Two out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 seasons.
2 out of 8. Wow.
So
use
again-
his 2017 season as his like benchmark. Batted 273 with a 796 OPS, 140 Ks, 75 RBIs, 23 home runs, 24 doubles.
Yeah, I would take 270 something out of him every time.
Yeah, like
I don't
a-
care if he strikes
yeah.
out.
A high like the 796 here, I'll take.
Yeah.
But how much is that guy worth?
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like,
20
what would you
mil?
pay for that? Yeah.
I mean,
That's-
how much is he going to bring in? The fans don't like. I guess
That's
for
my
the moment.
point.
But we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see how the
We'll
year
see how- yeah.
finishes.
Yeah.
Because you know how fast I could turn around with New York fans.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, listen,
could
he
be
goes.
besties next
He
week.
goes. Listen, if this team just hit the way that they have ever historically hit, they could go on a crazy run.
Yeah.
Because the lineup is way better than they've remotely shown.
They were also handed 13 games against the Nationals.
I don't want to hear
and
handed
Marlins?
any of those things.
Sure, whatever.
They can't beat the Marlins. What are you talking about?
They're already losing against the Marlins.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There you
Yeah.
go. I would never say that the Mets are ever handed a game against the Marlins. Because the
Oh, no,
Marlins-
I know.
It doesn't matter if the Mets have the best team in
Yep.
baseball. They're going to lose to the Marlins most of the time.
Yep.
It's so frustrating.
Losing 2-0 now.
Yep.
Who's starting for both?
Yeah, the
We
Mets.
got Stroman got pulled. He got hurt.
All right.
Yay.
Taiwan Walker came in for him. Stroman 1.1 inning pitched, 1 hit, and then Taiwan Walker's in right now.
Who was, I guess, probably going to start the second game, and now they're kind of.
Yep,
Yeah.
they pushed him forward because
Who's
they.
Miami have? Not Lazardo.
Miami
the other day, right?
has.
I think Lazardo.
Again,
was
I
the
don't.
other day.
Something's out of whack because this is saying the same thing. It's saying a guy pitched 0 innings thus far. Maybe he's coming in, but
Maybe.
Eliza Hernandez.
Is that new guy? I think he just got called up.
Eliza Hernandez.
No,
It's
that's
a great name.
Cabrera.
Oh, Cabrera.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, the Marlins frustrate me.
Yes, they always. The Mets kryptonite.
Always. Who was who do they used to have? Jorge Cantu, remember that guy?
Yes.
He hit like
That's a name.
150 against the rest of the MLB, but I'm pretty sure the Mets kept him in the big leagues for like 12 years.
Jorge Cantu. He did have
That's
some.
a
Can you
name.
look up his stats against the Mets because he couldn't
I
have hit
don't,
under
I'm
500
no shot.
against them.
I'm doing that because that's a lot of.
That shoulda came up
He's
first.
a career 271 batting average, 755 OPS.
Wow. He hit over 500 against the Mets, I guarantee. He killed us.
When he was in Florida,
Yeah.
total 2010, 695 OPS. So he sucked against everybody else.
It was the Mets.
He's just giving you heart palpitations. You're still having nightmare fever dreams
Yeah, it was
about Jorge Cantu.
No, he was
You
brutal
just-
against everybody else.
You just
Yeah.
brought. I know. That's what I'm saying. I like that you just brought up Jorge Cantu. I had Jorge
'Cause
Cantu
he
on at
killed us.
least 2 fantasy baseball rosters because
That's
I was a Mets
terrible.
fan and I was like, man,
they're
this
playing
guy
him a lot.
crushes.
I know.
You would think that he was one of the best baseball players in the world.
This dude is a sleeper. He
Yeah,
also had like dual eligibility. Yeah, he third base, first base, second base.
Yeah.
Like he had dual eligibility. He was one of those dudes who has like
Yeah.
7 positions.
You would think
so
that he
you
was
could
just going to
stuff him
kill it for
anywhere
you.
in your lineup.
Yeah.
He's just
You
on the
have to-
bench till he plays the Mets, and then he goes out and gets you a bunch of points.
Right.
I have his
And they'll-
stats.
Huh?
I have his stats against the Mets.
Oh,
Get
what
it.
were
Here we
they?
go, Deets.
That's what the producer is here
That's
for,
right.
baby.
266 batting average. I don't have his OPS, but he was slugging 424 on base percentage, 306. So what does that equal out to? Like
730.
Yeah, and 5 home runs, 31 RBIs in 49 games.
It's pretty
How
good.
many RBIs?
That's solid. I just
Yeah.
don't. I don't know why he's giving you fever dreams still.
Because
Yeah.
maybe it was just in huge
It's like
situations.
great
It was like-
at-bats.
it was like-
Every at bat was amazing.
It was a couple key games in my life.
It
that
must
I
have just been a
needed to-
huge
You
situation
know what
where
it
he
was?
just
It was
came
because
off
it
and
was while
crushed.
it was like when you were playing.
Yeah, I didn't. No,
There was
they
a
weren't
shot
the
that you
Florida
had to
Marlins
face
when I was
him and
playing. Were they?
Yeah.
Not when I was a Met.
Yeah.
When did they switch to Miami?
Oh no. They were Florida more. This is Florida in 2009, but that can't be.
No, I was with the Cubs then.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. You were playing.
Yeah, but I didn't care about him then.
Cantu wasn't there then.
He still had real
No.
estate in your head, regardless.
Yeah, oh yeah, he's all of my dumb. I must have been to like 3 games against the Marlins, and he just ended the game against us all 3 times or something.
Yep.
I don't know.
You're just like, I'm done with this.
Yeah, I hate this
You know
guy.
what I never
He's
want to
the
pitch
worst.
against? Jorge Cantu.
Yeah.
Which I'll leave that. That's the last thing I'll be. Like Sean Nolan, obviously, we were talking about before.
Yeah.
We were joking around about his start against the Mets, and I was talking to him, and Nimmo hits the 3-2 home run on him, and he's like, I threw it because I just needed it to be over the plate because there was no chance I was going to want to pitch to Pete Alonso with the bases loaded.
Yeah.
He's a no sir. I'd rather let it up to Nimmo and Pete Alonso. But hey, we appreciate you coming on the show today,
Thanks for
talking
having
Mets,
me.
talking a few
Thank
different
you.
things, and I look forward to talking and hearing more about the Mets with you
Absolutely.
in coming projects
Yes, sir.
here at
Yes.
the Grounds Crew. Appreciate you guys. Thank you guys as always, and we'll talk to you next time.
See ya.
Baseball lifestyle, it's my lifestyle.